guys, Grace here. I am actually still in Vietnam. I've got another week here to go, and then I'm on to Bali for about 10 days. But I did want to drop this interview I did with my really good buddy Ben, aka Dork in the Road, a few weeks ago, just before I left for Vietnam. Ben is one of my favorite people in the ADV industry. He's always doing such cool stuff, and we sit down to talk about everything from the new release of the Oregon BDR to what it's like working with Giant Loop, which we love. We're both ambassadors, as well as what it really takes to stay relevant with social media in this industry nowadays, with YouTube and all these other parameters. So I hope you guys enjoy my sit down with Ben. Again, really one of my favorite people, such an amazing guy. And yeah, I hope everyone's doing great in the States. I'll be back in a couple weeks. Can't wait to see everybody at Revzilla ADV Fest at the end of April. And in the meantime, live wild, ride free.
Touch up my face thing. They look all smooth and weird.
You do not look weird. You look great.
I know, but I think I turned it on and I didn't mean to because maybe it's just the lighting, but I'm more wrinkly than this, is all I'm saying.
You're more wrinkly normally than this?
Yes.
You should just roll with it and say that you're using a new night cream. Isn't that more appropriate?
But it makes me look like a late 90s CGI character.
There's nothing wrong with being a late 90s CGI character.
I mean, I guess not.
Dude, how are you? So how was the BDR film screening? Was it fun?
It was awesome. It's so great to get to watch that stuff with the crowd of people that really appreciate it, because they're like cheering and laughing. And God, I'll never forget this was at the Wyoming one last year, but there's this moment where Jocelyn, her tire gets shredded, and they're like, we tried to patch it, but we couldn't. And then the support truck rolls up with an air compressor and like a Raviconda, and the whole theater is just like the loudest groan and jeer you've ever heard in your life, because that's not real. We don't get that, So it's super funny to see that stuff. But the best thing about the Oregon one was seeing Nathan have a chance to shine and show off this route that he's worked so hard on over the last few years, and just really own it. And I mean, he was the man. Like, I had to tell him afterward, I was like, dude, I don't know what because he has he's anxious about his public speaking or whatever. I'm like, dude, you're crushing it. All you have to do is just tap into your passion and let it roll.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to talk to Nathan, I think about 2 weeks ago now, because I interviewed him for ADV Moto Mag, same thing I'm doing with you. And it was funny because we had such a good conversation about BDR and kind of what went into it and his favorite parts of doing it. But yeah, I mean, I could definitely tell he was a little nervous talking about it. And it's the same thing, right? It's like, dude, you're the man. Like, you have nothing to be,
just relax, dude.
So much into this, and it's so cool. Like, I mean, we're all in awe of it. Like, I can't wait to ride it at some point. It just looks incredible. So yeah,
passion oozes out of the guy. Just does.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What the hell was that? Looked like I was possessed for a minute. Okay. I know. Oh God. That's gonna be so much fun for people to watch later when it, anyway, okay. I'll completely start my Yeah, well, I kept talking too. I didn't realize it disconnected. So yeah, essentially what I want to talk to you about is about you, obviously.
My favorite topic.
I really want to kind of it is a great topic. I mean, a lot of what I want to focus on is obviously your content creation, how you built the channel you have, and really kind of your push to show to everybody that adventure and dual sport riding is for everyone. So just for a little backstory on you, how did you first get interested in dual sport and ADV riding? And was it a slow burn to kind of get where you are now, not only with riding, but also with the channel?
That's a great question. It's a loaded question. So I got to take you all the way back to the 80s, okay? Because as a kid, I spent a ton of time in the woods with my dad fishing. Like, he'd come pick me up and we'd be like, because I lived in Sisters with my mom and he lived in Albany. And so we would stop along the way and get out and go fishing. We'd take a Honda Civic and just go drive in the woods. And so I spent a ton of time in the woods as a kid, camping, fishing, all that stuff. And then I loved it in high school. Like I had, you know, a Toyota pickup that I would take up in the woods and do stuff all the time. And then somehow along the way of getting through college and getting a career going and starting a family and all of that, I just stopped like going outside at all. Really, it was, you know, the very definition of a routine. You know, you get up, you go to work, you come home, have dinner, go to bed, get up, go to work. And everything just started to feel like it was too hard or too difficult, or you know, it might be uncomfortable. I might not have what I need. And so I just never did that stuff anymore. And I sort of forgot about it for the longest time. And then randomly also got my motorcycle endorsement at 17. That's important to know, even though I never had a motorcycle. But my dad paid for me to get my endorsement, and we were going to rebuild a bike, and it just sort of never came together. So I always renewed it. I never let it drop off, because I knew someday, even though it cost me more to pay for my license with this endorsement on it, that I was going to use it. So fast forward to 2016, and my buddy, the Duck fan himself, randomly, no kidding, calls me. He's like, or texts me. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to go to California and buy a Ducati." And I was like, "What?" Like, because we were like people that used to ride or wanted to ride, but never did. And he just randomly got this wild hair. And so as soon as he did that, that was the spark that started the conversation, where I was able to convince my wife that I also had wanted to ride motorcycles my whole life and just never had. Honestly, my brother came in clutch on that one. He was like, no, he's seriously wanted to do this since he was 17, and that pushed her over the edge. So I bought a CB 500F in 2016, street bike, because I didn't know, right? Easy to buy, easy bike to ride. I think good, because I was essentially starting over. Like I had some skills, but I hadn't ridden in 20 years, so I wanted to get a good beginner style bike. And I rode that for a while, and I started watching a lot of motorcycle videos, and I stumbled across Everride, and I was watching a lot of Everride videos, and I was like, I like going outside, riding in the woods. That could be fun. So bought a 2016 Honda CRF 250L. And that was it. Like it was all downhill from there. The second I got that thing off-road into the woods, I was like, what the hell have I been doing with my life? This is all the things I love at the same time. So that sort of ignited. I sold the 500F not that long after, because it just wasn't getting ridden, and really started to lean into this off-road riding, day tripping. It was a while before I started like moto camping and stuff. So it has been a quick 7 years, but at the same time, it took me a while to add the various components. I just rode and trail rode for a while, and then I bought the Africa Twin in 2020. So that was my first real adventure bike, and have slowly, well, it doesn't feel slow, it feels fast, because like last year, well, actually 2021 was the first time I ever went moto camping for more than one night in a row. And then 2022, I went and did the full Washington BDR. So I spent a week out off the bike. And then this year, we're doing the Oregon BDR. That's going to be 10 days, because we're going to do the BDR X as well. I'm going to Mexico. So things are expanding quickly. But along the way, like I said, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I just remember thinking this, and it was a unique time, because motovlogging was still kind of big. And so people would just strap a camera to their face and just talk about whatever while they were riding. And for some reason, people watched that. Myself included. So I was like, well, I can do that. So I bought a refurbished Hero 3, slapped it on my helmet, and started riding around talking about God knows what. Mostly nerdy, dorky things, which is where the channel name came from, because my plan was to like talk about, I was like, oh, here's a unique idea, talking about video games and like Marvel movies and Star Wars and stuff, but on a motorcycle, because that Venn diagram has a lot of overlap, I'm sure. So shockingly, those videos did not do that well, but I liked the name, so I kept it, and moved over into the thing that I was really passionate about, which is riding off-road and eventually moto camping and stuff. And I'm also a teacher by trade, by background. So I was a teacher for 10 years. And so kind of helping people, teaching people, explaining things to people kind of comes naturally to me. It was a natural evolution. And the biggest thing, to answer your actual question, is what I never could find was videos of dudes that look like me, or people that look like me doing adventure things, right? It's Poltares jumping a T7 20 feet out of a rock quarry. You can watch videos like that all day. But where is the lazy middle-aged guy going out and having a couple beers around the campfire, and hanging out with his friends and riding and seeing cool places? Where's that? It didn't exist. And so I resolved to be the channel that I wished I could have found when I was trying to get into this thing. So that's where the motto, the channel mission comes from: inspire, educate, and empower. It's about inspiring people to see you don't have to be hardcore to do it, educating them, giving the tools that they need to get started, and then empowering them, saying you have what you need, go do it. Let's go. Start small, make it happen, but it's fun and you should do it.
Absolutely. I mean, half the reason I fell in love with your channel, I mean, was initially because everything you were saying in your helmet is stuff that I think about when I off-road riding, whether it's like those oh shit moments or just like straight stream of consciousness, like randomly going down a rabbit hole about things like Star Wars, or like, man, I don't know about these tires, maybe these tires, I like these other tires I've been on, just like things like that, that we all think about, that you were actually vocalizing. And I think it just connects with people in such a deep way, especially like other riders initially. But yeah, I mean, and this segues into another kind of question I had, but it is kind of intimidating, right? That like a lot of what we see with ADV and dual sport riding are these guys that are taking these heavy bikes and like, you know, bombing down these like mountain ridge lines, you know, going God knows how fast, and, you know, with drone footage and all these other things. And it's super intimidating for a lot of newer riders, especially because they go, oh man, I can't do that. And so I think what I'm trying to ask is, you know, by kind of humanizing, I guess, ADV riding and dual sport riding, do you find that that helps broaden the community and people that watch you and like really connect with you about trying to get into the sport overall? Like, does that really kind of help that?
Absolutely. I think it's easy to see what's out there and get the impression that you have to be really good at riding to enjoy this thing. And why would I spend all this money on an expensive bike? And you know, because I'm never going to be able to take it on a motocross track or whatever, right? And that's just not the case. Go to any ADV rally and look around, right? It is middle-aged people, you know, that because one, ADV riding is not cheap, so you got to be at a place where you can kind of afford things, right? But going out, you don't have to ride fast to see a gorgeous, amazing, beautiful things, right? You don't have to. And so it's interesting you mentioned that, because you were talking about the talking in my helmet thing, and sometimes like I'll have bad audio, or I just won't feel like what I had that day was good. And so I'll do like a montage. That's not how you say it. Montage, like, and not have my sort of stream of consciousness talking. And people inevitably every time are like, no, dude, we want to hear you talk about like everything. Like they don't want to watch me ride good and like have like a cool montage. They understand and identify with what you're saying. The struggles, the anxiety, the fear, the trepidation that comes with writing difficult things, trying new things. And so I try really hard to leave that stuff in. And it's another reason why I think the channel name is so perfect, because, and why I've kept it, why I never thought about changing it, because if you walk into a channel, it says Dork in the Road, you're not expecting me to be amazing, right? Like, I hope not, because that's not what we're about. And I'm never going to be about that. I want it to be realistic, even if it is not flattering, right? Like I don't give a crap if people know that writing scary things makes me nervous. I don't care if people know that I'm not a great writer. In fact, I want that to be up front and center, because it colors all the advice I give you, right? Like that's why I try to not only do like teaching type videos, but also writing type videos, because I want you to know who the person is, the perspective through which all this advice I'm giving you is. So yes, I do find that a lot of people, I get comments all the time, and they're my favorite comments, because they're just like, you know, I was afraid too, and it was so nice to hear from someone else that deals with that anxiety. And it's also really cool to have a record of me from the very beginning. Like I have my very first day trail riding on video. I fell down 4 times, like just stupid stuff that I've ridden a million times since, but having that progression so people can go back and see not only that it's okay to not be perfect, but that just doing it, you get better and you become more confident. And, you know, I made a video about how confidence is the most important off-road riding skill. And I firmly believe that. And the best way to build confidence is to go out and struggle and succeed and build on your successes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that a lot of people that have been ADV riding for a little while know, obviously, is that dropping the bike and falling off the bike is such a normalcy. But when you start, it's so intimidating, because you don't, especially if you're a road rider, I mean, that type of thing just doesn't fly. So taking away that element of fear, I guess, that like, oh shit, I'm going to screw my bike up, or I shouldn't be doing this, is kind of the first step. But for the average beginner, it's something that's really forgotten about, and not talked about, especially when you have these professionals, because when they wipe out, it's like catastrophic level like things, and people don't realize that you can just kind of drop and fall off a bike and it's totally fine. I mean, I've dropped my bike so many times at this point in life that it's just so, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, I think making it accessible is something that a lot of people in the ADV community are trying to push, especially now. So I guess leading in with that, like, when it comes to your kind of day-to-day filming and engaging with people on social media, you know, working with brands to review and test products, like, what is that, you know, what is that process for you? Like, is it a packed day every day? Do you kind of get to pick and choose projects? Like, how do you kind of work through a lot of that stuff?
Well, it's an interesting question, and you assume I have some sort of organization, and I'm not just like flying by the seat of my pants all the time. But it depends. So in the summer, it's crazy busy, right? Like, last summer was super overwhelming because not only am I gone on trips for long periods of time, but I have to get content ready for the time I'm gone, right? So it's like you go out, you have a great time, you're riding for a week, and then you come back and it's like, oh crap, I got to get 7 videos ready because I'm leaving again. One thing I just started doing is I'm working with an editor now. I have my very first video. Actually, it's not the first time I've ever had anyone edit another video, but it's the first time I ever paid anyone to edit a video, and that one's not out yet because it's the MSR gear review, and they're waiting. They want to wait till they launch it or whatever, even though it's already available on the website. But it turned out really well. So my hope for this year is that those trip videos, that longer content stuff, I can pass off to him, and because I like to focus in on the educational, informational content a lot, and those are the videos that I will. So my process, I guess, for making a video depends on the video. So a writing video, you know, I try to do an intro, and then I just try to film as much as I can. And then if a through line or a story emerges, I'll lean into it while I'm out there. But otherwise, it's just like I'll try to make sense of what there was while I'm writing. I'm going to come back and edit. But in terms of like, I'm literally like the second when you popped on, I was working on a script for I started this ADV 101 series, and I'm working on a series of gear videos. So I made a helmet video yesterday, and today I'm working on a gloves video, and I will for those type out like not a script but an outline. So I have, because I like to go off the cuff a lot, but I don't want to forget things. This is mostly the point of my outline. And then run to the garage and film it, usually come back, edit it, put some B-roll over the top that's relevant, try to find some keywords, put that on, upload it, do all that. So it's interesting because I have such different types of content. The process is very different for each, and it kind of just depends on what's stacked up. So if I've been writing a lot, I edit. I could spend a week writing, and then it's like I'm editing all the next week. Or a day like yesterday where I'll sit down in the morning, write a script, go to the garage, film it, eat lunch, come back, edit it, upload it, and have a little bit of time to work on other things. Like I bought a toy hauler, and I've been working on it because I'm going to take it to all the events I'm going to this summer. So that's not a great answer.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I obviously, I'm newer to this, but I'm completely the same way with how I do things. So I understand where you're at. And it's kind of a shuffle, because going into something like a summer, you do have to have things ready to go. Or like, you know, I'm about to go to Vietnam. And so I have like probably like 8 videos I'm going to back to back be releasing while I'm there, just to get things up and running before summer. But unless you have that kind of back roll of things to work with, you're screwed when it comes to content releases. So it's interesting to kind of shine light on the fact that doing the work ahead of time is so important to keep a channel functioning and running at a successful rate, because otherwise, obviously, you lose out on the algorithm with your audience and everything else. And you know, with how much the algorithms are consistently changing on YouTube, I would assume the effort to stay relevant as well as to keep growing goes far beyond what most people realize. So how do you continue to stay as successful as you are and continue to grow your audience? Like how do you feel you've been striving to do that, maybe even differently at the start of the year? I know you decided to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good question. Because definitely last summer I got super overwhelmed with just trying to keep up, and so it became more about just putting out content and not putting out quality content or even content that's super focused. And I really saw the consequences of that going into the fall. As you know, if you don't, I like to talk about planting seeds on YouTube. So making a video that you know is going to have long-term success, right? Like, 7 things I wish I'd known before I started riding ADV bikes is a video that I not only hope does well at the beginning, but will become sort of a reference piece that does well for a long time. And I didn't plant any seeds over the summer, and they don't last forever, right? So you'll have a video do really well, and maybe it'll even do really well for a year, but they do eventually drop off. So you have to keep finding videos that are long tail evergreen videos, while at the same time, like, some things aren't and never will be. I don't understand how, this is maybe a tangent, but one of the biggest genres of videos on YouTube is camping videos. Like, camping videos get millions of views, and they're not even that interesting sometimes. Why do my moto camping videos not get, it's like they're just not reaching the right audience, or I don't know what that is, but I only have one that's ever done well, like super long term, and it's because it was my first time camping by myself, and I made a stupid face in the thumbnail, like I was out there terrified. Those
thumbnails go a long way.
Yeah, they really do. But the key, really, at the end of the day, and what I reevaluated after things were not being successful, and the algorithm has changed, and all of my friends that make motorcycle related content are feeling it. And so at the end of the day, you have to sit down, and the thing that always does well is good content. Good content that satisfies a need that your audience has, right? And so that's why I made this plan to focus in on the thing that I really want to do. Focus on my mission, focus on inspire, educate, and empower, and make the videos that I wish that I could have seen. And so, I don't know, the last month or two has been almost all like super educational, explainy, trying to help people into the world of ADV riding. And those videos are always going to be relevant if they're good and well done. It's great that growing the channel also enables me to help people, right? The thing that I need to do to grow the channel well is the thing that I like doing, which is helping people and ushering people into our sport. I really want to be an ambassador. I want my channel to be a gateway. And so if leaning into that is the way I also make my channel successful, that's a win-win. It is easier to just make content about the things I'm doing, but I've got to find a balance. So at the end of the day, as long as you're making the content that your audience wants to see, and you know who your audience is, that's important. The algorithm can change, but YouTube wants to make money, which means they want people to watch quality content. So if you keep making quality content, hopefully you can find a way through, but there's always going to be hiccups and stumbles along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that is something that across the board is hitting most people in content creation these days, is just that things are a little bit different than they have been in the past. It's a lot harder to get the views, to get your videos, your photographs, any of those things out to kind of a wider audience. And as a result, I do know, just like you do, a lot of friends that are very active in that community that are reevaluating what they want to do, which I think is essentially, you had your Patreon video at the start of the year talking about that, just kind of getting back to basics a little bit and focusing on those things that you enjoy doing, but that also you think will be conducive to helping the people that follow you long term. I really think that there's an element of change coming, but even greater change. I mean, we'll kind of watch and see what happens, but how do you see things kind of moving forward for you right now? Just kind of sticking with where you're at, doing videos, getting to events, meeting people. Like, is there anything kind of different you're thinking about for summer, or is it going to be a summer of rallies, Oregon BDR, and just enjoying time on the bike?
I mean, the biggest thing I want to do differently is make sure that I'm sprinkling in those educational, helpful videos along the way, and not just doing all riding stuff. I think because it's almost like I get outside my niche when I do that, but I don't have anything super crazy different going on this summer, except actually it's very similar to last summer. Touratech, Giant Loop. I'm going to the Get On ADV Fest again. And then instead of Washington BDR, I'm doing Oregon. I do plan to do, because I live in Oregon, and I'm an hour away from where the Oregon BDR hits Highway 20. So I plan on doing overnights and double and two nighters and stuff, particularly on the northern sections of that a lot this summer, because I really want to know the route well. I mean, I won't know the southern portion as easy because it's 6 hours away, but everything Central Oregon north, a lot of which I've already ridden and know, so I'm excited about that. And the other big thing I'm getting into that I don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet, but is the training thing, particularly with Ride Adventures. I think getting this opportunity to, again, I'm a teacher by trade, to actually teach people in this thing that I really love, and I have a different approach because I'm very confidence and relationship based, and not that those guys aren't, but I really think that there's different people react to different types of coaching styles and teaching styles, and it's important to have different ones in every session because you don't know what people are going to connect with, right? So being able to offer my unique brand of encouragement, I guess, is cool. So I really enjoy that training stuff, and want to do more of it as time permits and be involved with that program. Maybe even, I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything about this, but conversations about setting up things a little bit closer to where I live so that people over here don't have to go to Bend, because I know plenty of areas where we can run things like this. So lots of opportunities there on the horizon, which is cool. I did some of that last summer, but it was kind of last minute and thrown in, and I'm doing it on purpose this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you are a teacher, so I feel like that is like something kind of in your blood, right? Is like wanting to help educate. And with how personable and wonderful you are in general, I mean, I feel like you could probably connect with people learning a skill set like this, especially people that are so new and green to it, just being able to kind of talk them through a hill climb or some weird chop that freaks people out when their tires start moving around and things like that. But
I have a different perspective than, I think, like Tyler, who we love, but he's been good at riding for as long as he can remember. And these people, most of them are just starting at middle age, and I know what that's like. So I feel like I offer a unique perspective, because when you're young and fearless and nothing hurts, it's easy to learn difficult and dangerous things. It's harder when you're older, I should say. Hurting yourself is a bad thing, takes longer to recover from, and you just spent, I don't know, 10, 20 grand on a motorcycle that you're afraid of dropping. So I like to be able to offer that perspective to people that, like me, started late in life.
Right. Yeah. And it's a good perspective to have, because that is the demographic for this sport, is essentially people that either have been riding motorcycles or got into it, enjoy it, and kind of just like to be outside, like hiking, like exploring, just that in general. And, nobody's a spring chicken anymore. Even when I got into it, I was 32 and falling hurts. I'm younger, but I'm not that young. And when you put all that money into a bike, like you said, I mean, it can be a little daunting. But I think that's such a good perspective to bring into a training program, especially because that is the exact mentality people are going in with, and you've already been there. And that's a lot of what you kind of talk about almost, on a weekly basis in your videos is, kind of things you can do, things you probably should stay away from, and the best way to kind of continue to improve, or if anything, just enjoy riding. Because that's what ADV riding is, just getting out and riding. So yeah, very cool. That sounds awesome, man. Well, I guess if you have anything to add, how do you feel? This is just a question for my own personal use, I guess, but how do you feel about social media right now as a whole? Like how is it impacting you? Are you frustrated? Are you kind of figuring it out? Like what's your vibe with how things have changed so much in the last year?
Well, there's so much competition, and everybody got into these. I mean, outdoor stuff in particular during COVID and that ending. Everybody tried to start a channel or a stream or whatever during COVID, and so I think there is a lot of negativity out there, maybe from some people who tried and aren't succeeding, and so they don't like when other people are succeeding. I don't know. It's interesting. It was interesting because I was getting a lot of negative comments when my content was not aligning with my philosophy. And since I made that change, I have not been seeing them as much. It's super weird, but there's a lot of negativity out there. It adds up. It's cumulative. Like one bad comment, okay, 2 or 3 in a day, it kind of starts to get annoying. And after a while, you're like, am I bad at this? Like, should I even be doing this? And in particular, when it's things that when they hit insecurities that you yourself have, like like I said earlier, I don't care if you know that I'm bad at writing, but I don't really like it when you point it out. Stuff like in a mean way. Or some of the comments I got on that apology video when I was like, this is me acknowledging that the things I've been doing are not productive and great for you, the audience. Here's what I'm going to do differently. And a lot of comments were like, yeah, it was terrible, and I stopped watching it because you sucked. Like, thanks. That's so helpful. Thank you for saying that. Here I am bearing my soul vulnerably, and you're just like, yeah, you do suck. So thanks for realizing it, or whatever. I see those comments and I just go, yeah. I mean, kudos to you for speaking your truth, but read the room, man. Come on.
Yeah, read the room is exactly right. Yeah.
So it's a racket. It's an interesting racket to be in, the social media thing.
Yeah. I mean, some of the trolls, I get a kick out of sometimes reposting some of the stuff you have because it's just hilarious to me. But some of the things that people say, it's super daunting when you are someone that cares about what you do and you put that much effort into things. It just, it's one of those things with social media and personal accountability that drives me absolutely nuts because I just don't get it. But, at the same time too, kind of like you said, right? It's like the minute you kind of changed your direction just enough, all of a sudden that stuff goes away. It's very odd how that works. But, as long as you're happy making what you're making, that's really all that matters, right?
Yeah. I mean, and we're interesting people that choose to put themselves out there. I always used to say to my acting students, there's an arrogance to saying, here I am on the stage, look at me, watch what I'm doing, right? And you have to have a little bit of that. It's the only way that you can come across compellingly and confidently, right? But at the same time, a lot of us are also, have not the most self-confidence at times and are anxiety-ridden human beings. It's a weird, like I'm an introvert. People don't believe me when I say that. I'm a textbook introvert. Like, going to rallies used to scare the crap out of me because I was like, what if people talk to me? And a lot of famous, not that I'm famous, but like people that like David Letterman is an introvert, like, and you wouldn't believe it, but it's a different thing. I'm an actor by trade. Like, I was a theater teacher. I've been doing acting since I was 20 or since I was 18 years old, or high school really. And like, I'm playing a character most of the time. Right. And so, so I have a lot of anxiety, and then when people reinforce it, it's not awesome. But at the same time, people don't believe it. So they think they can just throw out as much as they want because I present this very confident, or at least try to present this confident, well-spoken person who also is okay with not being perfect. And all those things are true about me, but at the same time, it's like, sometimes it just hits you in not a good place. I don't know. That was random.
It's those times when they get into your head because they hit an insecurity of yours that's an actual personal insecurity, which, by the way, I don't care what anybody says. I know you can ride really well, so that's bullshit. But anyway, but no, I completely relate. I obviously put a lot of myself on social media. And now, granted, I don't have nearly the following you do, but occasionally I will get very ugly messages from people, and it's hard. But I think what does kind of counter that is then the positivity you get. You get those messages, like, I know, you post these a lot as well, where people just reach out to you and just say, thank you for helping encourage me to try, because I never would have. And I think that those are kind of the things that you have to start focusing on, especially being an introvert too, and going into some of these situations, is you are genuinely giving people confidence and encouraging them to do something that they want to try. And that's such a cool sentiment to take with you and to kind of carry with what you're creating. I mean, I'm sure that really is something that helps you get through a lot of those moments from time to time too.
Yeah. And it's why I have I have all those screenshots of those amazing comments, like, saved in an album on Instagram. So I could go look at it when I need to, but it's also what helped me overcome the anxiety and trepidation about going to like public events. Like, we started talking about the Oregon BDR premiere, and I go to these things and people talk to me all the time, and it's actually awesome because they always come up and say, really, thank you for inspiring. No one's ever come up to me and said, your video about gloves sucked. It's always people coming up and being like, dude, thank you so much. I found the courage to to buy a motorcycle, and I got this XT250. I'm having a great time riding it. That is amazing. That is what it's all about, and that makes it. I want to say it makes it all worth it. Like I'm some kind of like I'm not out here living my dream and spending every day doing the thing that I always want. But every job's tough, right? And it makes the tough parts insignificant by comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it goes a long way. And those are the little moments. I mean, I won't forget, I mean, a giant loop last year, even I remember we were just having a quick chat right when I got there, and you were kind of prepping for people to come over and say hi to you. And then it was like the universe heard you, because pretty much from about 10 seconds after you made that statement till the end of the weekend, I think you had a constant influx of people coming around. And it was just like I mean, for being an introvert though, Ben, you handle it so well. It's absolutely incredible. Because I mean, it's a lot to go to those rallies. Do you feel like you have to like prep yourself before those weekends just to like put on the face and be there?
Yeah, it's not as hard as it used to be, because it's so fun now. There's a lot of lack of self-confidence and like, what, no, I don't deserve this, blah blah blah. And and you want to spend all your time being like, no, it's I didn't, blah blah blah. And it's like, people want to show their gratitude and excitement. Don't tell them they're wrong, right? Don't deny them that. Acknowledge it, accept it, be grateful. It's so funny you mentioned Giant Loop Ride, because probably my favorite moment from like all the events I went to last year was around dinner time, before dinner time, after the riders meeting. I was just trying to get to the tent to get a beer. And I would, and I love talking to people. Please don't take this as me being like, don't talk to me, people. But I talked to somebody like, yeah, hey, I'm going to grab a beer. It was really nice to meet you. 2 steps, someone else is talking to me. Oh man, really cool. Awesome. Hey, I'm just going to grab a beer real quick. Couldn't get there. And Sean from Veterans Back 40 is watching this happen from the tent. And I may be getting 2 steps closer every conversation. And we make eye contact, and he just walks out and hands me 2 beers. Because he knows I'm not going to make it. And he knows what I'm after, and he knows that I'm not going to tell people that I don't want to talk to them. I'm not going to, these people make it so that I can do this thing that I love. I'm not going to not give them my time, right? No matter how thirsty I am for a delicious cold beer. That was so fun and cool. I love that moment. I talk to Sean about it all the time. I'm like, dude, you're a rock star. You read the room really well.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think especially in Oregon, I mean, that's your home base of people. That's where a lot of the big community is, and especially around Giant Loop, because you were with them for such a long period of time and still are. I mean, that's kind of that's like the Mecca for you, essentially. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch you back in your element in June. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun, but
always a blast. Thank you for the heads up, robot lady.
Hello, hold on. There we go. Right, video. Yeah, sorry. I was laughing because I put the money and invested the money to have really good Wi-Fi out here. So for me to like have it be choppy is super not normal. And then my mom just texted me. She goes, I hope you're okay out there. It's starting to get windy. And I looked outside and I was like, oh my God. No, it's fine. Thankfully it's a few miles away. Very typical of Missouri. It's just what happens out here. So
dedication, ladies and gentlemen, human beings watching at home. Grace you could have just rescheduled this, but no, she's in a metal storage unit during a tornado to get the story for you.
Right. I mean, this thing is indestructible, I think. So
but can it be lifted up and carried to Oz?
Hopefully not. I don't know if I want to go to Oz. I'm much happier here with the motorcycle personally, but
it could be fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tour Tech sounds amazing, dude. I think that if you want to go ahead and talk a little bit more about what you're going to present, that's kind of when we got cut off.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping to put together so the last couple of years I've done like a formal kind of TED Talk presentation, like an hour, where I kind of it's been the theme has been get off your ass and chase your dreams, and then kind of through the lens of my experience of being a lazy in a rut kind of guy to starting this channel and now making my on YouTube, which is fun and great. But I feel like that's about me a lot. And it's like like I said in my apology video, is like, this channel is not about me. It's about you. It's about everyone else. So I want to do more of a kind of an informal hangout thing, like a happy hour with Dork in the Road, where maybe we have some beverages, we hang out in the rally tent. And the idea is people bring their questions, right? Like, what questions do you have? What questions are you afraid to ask about getting into riding or moto camping, whatever? And I don't answer all the questions. I moderate a discussion, because when you get all these ADV people together, there's so much knowledge in the room. It's stupid not to tap into it. So
100%.
That sounds fun to me.
I mean, and I think making it like a town hall, like you said, such a cool way to kind of host something, because then it does offer out, you know, not only your knowledge, but the knowledge of people around you too, because sometimes you have one person that's done something that no one else in the room has. And that makes it very insightful and fun for everybody too, connects everybody a little bit deeper. But cool. Well, I mean, it sounds amazing. I'm stoked for you. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to turn the recording off. We can chat for just a second, but in the meantime, I'll keep you posted. I'll probably have you send me a couple pics for the article, but yeah, then article interview is officially done. So thank you for that. Hold on, I'm going to stop recording here.